In a small village on the edge of a dense, ancient forest, there lived a woman of extraordinary beauty named Elara. Her home, a quaint cottage, stood alone at the forest's border, surrounded by vibrant flowers that seemed to bloom only for her. The villagers spoke of her in hushed tones, mesmerized by her beauty but wary of her mysterious solitude. Elara was kind and soft-spoken, often seen tending to her garden or walking along the forest's edge, her flowing dress shimmering like the morning dew. But despite her gentle demeanor, no one dared venture too close to her cottage after dark. It was said that the forest around her home was cursed, and that strange things happened when the sun dipped below the horizon. The villagers told tales of ghostly figures seen wandering near Elara's home, of whispers carried on the wind, and of the eerie glow that sometimes emanated from her windows late at night. Some claimed that Elara was a witch, that her beauty was a facade hiding a dark secret. Others believed she was cursed, doomed to live alone in the shadow of the forest for sins long forgotten. One evening, as the sun set behind the trees, a young man named Thomas, driven by curiosity and the enchantment of Elara's beauty, decided to visit her. He had heard the stories but dismissed them as mere superstition. He believed that the villagers were simply jealous of Elara's beauty and grace. Thomas made his way to the cottage just as the last light of day faded. He knocked on the door, and after a moment, Elara appeared, her face glowing in the dim light of a single candle. She welcomed him inside with a warm smile, and Thomas felt his fears melt away in her presence. The inside of the cottage was cozy, filled with the scent of flowers and herbs. Elara served him tea, and they talked for hours, the conversation flowing as easily as the tea from the pot. Thomas found himself captivated by her every word, her every movement. The night grew late, and yet, he felt no desire to leave. But as the clock struck midnight, the atmosphere in the cottage shifted. The air grew thick and heavy, the shadows seemed to deepen, and a chill ran down Thomas's spine. He noticed that Elara's eyes had changed. They were no longer the warm, inviting eyes he had seen before. They were cold, almost lifeless, like the eyes of a predator watching its prey. "Why don't you stay a little longer?" Elara whispered, her voice soft but carrying an undercurrent of something dark and dangerous. Thomas tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. He suddenly felt as if he couldn't move, as if an invisible force was holding him in place. The room around him began to spin, the walls closing in on him. He could hear whispers, hundreds of them, all around him, growing louder and louder until they were deafening. He looked at Elara, and her beautiful face was now twisted into a cruel, mocking smile. Her skin, once smooth and flawless, began to crack and peel, revealing something dark and monstrous underneath. Her once soft hands were now claws, sharp and deadly, reaching out toward him. Thomas tried to scream, but no sound came out. The last thing he saw before the darkness consumed him was Elara's face, no longer beautiful, but hideous and terrifying, her eyes glowing with an unholy light. The next morning, the villagers found Thomas's body at the edge of the forest, his face frozen in a mask of horror, his skin as cold as the ground he lay on. They buried him quickly, and no one spoke of what had happened. But from that day on, no one ventured near Elara's cottage, not even during the day. The villagers knew that the beautiful woman in the cottage was not what she seemed. She was a creature of the forest, something ancient and evil, hiding behind the mask of a beautiful lady. And those who were foolish enough to seek her out would never return. Elara still lives near the forest, as beautiful and mysterious as ever, but her garden is now filled with flowers that grow from the souls of those who fell victim to her cursed beauty. And every night, when the moon is full, the whispers of the dead can be heard in the wind, warning those who dare to listen.